Please note that this podcast episode contains discussion about difficult topics like body dysmorphia and eating disorders that may bring up strong emotions for some listeners. If you feel that hearing this content could potentially impact your mental well-being, please skip the second question. Check out this clip from Headspace Studios' podcast series, Dear Headspace. Hi, you two, Kess and Corey and Kess. How is everybody today?
Greetings, peace, Robin, peace, Corey. I'm doing good.
Hello. Happy to be here. Happy to see everybody.
Well, I'm glad you're both here with me today. And Kess, I do want just a shout out to you. There's a little treat for you in one of the questions today. So listen in for that. But it's not coming yet. Okay. It's not coming yet. So you got to hold on.
Okay.
Hold on.
Okay. So you build up my anticipation.
Exactly. Stay with me.
So
Stay with me.
Let me tap into my practice here and be present.
All right. Well, what is coming down the pike right now is question number 1 from Emma. So let's here we go.
Hi, Headspace. My name is Emma and I'm from Amsterdam, the Netherlands. I'd like to ask for advice on how to say goodbye to a house. We have a family house that belonged to my grandparents, who have lived there for about 60 years. And I've lived in my own part of it since 2015 and my brother as well since 2018. Both of my grandparents have now died and my mother has died as well. So it's a house that reminds me a lot of them and their lives. Now my grandfather has died recently. My uncle, my brother and me have inherited the house together. But the plan is to sell because it's financially just too complicated to keep it with the 3 of us. And I do think I still support that decision as it enables the 3 of us to move forward in our own lives. Yet at the same time, I find it incredibly hard to let go of the house. Because I think by letting go of the house, I also have to let go of the period in my life and the people that it stands for. And that's something I don't really want to do. So if you have any advice on how to go through this process, I would be grateful. Thank you.
Oh, thank you for this question, Emma. I'm going to start off a little controversial. I'm going to disagree with something Emma said in the question.
Okay.
That letting go of the house means she needs to let go of those people.
I agree.
Right?
I totally agree.
Like they're with you forever. Like those people are with you. They're in your heart and in your memories. And the house isn't what holds that. You hold that. I mean, Emma could mean that it means that she needs to now fully grieve their loss. Like that's a different thing if that's what Emma means. So maybe we should look at it from both perspectives. No,
I love that that mention, Robin. There's something about family homes, right? Like it's such a beautifully powerful, dare I say, spiritual thing. You know, for me, it was my grandmother's house also. And so, you have memories. You have these memories of love and these sentimental feelings around it. And so letting go of it is such a daunting idea. And very much what you were saying, Robin, this, because letting go is a mindfulness concept, this idea of, recognizing when we're holding on to something, good or bad, because if we're holding on to it, we're not opening ourselves up to the present moment. But oftentimes when we say letting go of something, we think we have to forget about it. Yeah. We have to completely let it go. And so just piggybacking what you were saying, Emma, just because you have to, or you're in a position of having to let go of this house, by no means does that mean you have to forget about the memories and the beautiful,
or the people.
Yeah, the people. And so always remember those, hold on and have those memories in your memory bank, if you will. And you're in a space of mourning right now. So, allow yourself that grace and that gentleness to mourn this beautiful family house that you have to let go of right now.
You know what I was just thinking of? I had a friend who they did these little art projects around the house. And I thought maybe there'd be something interesting with taking your favorite photo of the time of year that you love the house, or making some kind of like a keepsake memory so that it's there in front of you to remind you of all the memories that you had at that house. So you're bringing the positive of it with you as you let go of the physical thing.
Yeah. I relate to this probably a bit too much because for Emma, it's like one house. For me, it's literally every place I've ever stayed. Almost like Do you guys remember like the last episode of Friends or like any
Oh
TV
my
show
God,
ever
with
where
the
like they're like,
keys.
yes. And,
Like I almost hyperventilate during that scene. Because I'm always like, don't leave that apartment.
that is literally me at every home or apartment I've ever lived in. And I bring it up to say that I definitely understand the sentiment, right? We make a lot of memories in these spaces, both some that make us smile and some that, make us cry, but we make a lot of memories in these spaces. Kessonga, I definitely agree with you as far as like the spiritual component, because this is where our spirits reside for a certain amount of time and the people that we love. And even if you stay in a place for 1 year or 10 years, it's always hard to close a chapter.
Yeah.
And this is especially hard because there's grief, not just for the home, but grief for actual individuals. So I would just say be patient with yourself, but definitely, as they said, take all of the memories with you, take the good times with you, and know that it's absolutely human to struggle with this, because again, with you it's one house, with me it's been every place I've ever laid my head. So
well, it's so funny because like when I got this question, I thought it was so interesting because I moved like 8 million times. Like this apartment that I'm in with my kids right now is the longest I've ever lived anywhere. And when we first moved in, I was all, this is our retirement plan. Like as soon as the kids are out of the house, we'll downsize, we'll sell it, we'll move on. Like I had a whole thing. And then my kids were raised here. It's like 12 years later of memories and of seeing like my son in this corner and it's like, oh, this is a different conversation now. Like sell it, because it does feel like there's a loss of the memories, but it's like, so it is just a reminder to yourself that that's all still with you. And it is more of a mourning. Like, I think if I were to have to sell this place, I'd be mourning, walking around and seeing, oh, that's where my son's gaming desk is. Like, oh, that's where my daughter hides in her bedroom away from her mom's. Like,
that's when it gets real, right? When you look around your living space and you start seeing the different memories in the different areas of the house, and that's why. That spiritual component is real. It's almost like the house has a soul, and part of your soul is in this house.
Well, I wonder if there's some kind of like ceremony, or like, can you have everyone over for a gathering and like share your favorite memories and go through and be like, oh, remember this, remember that, and it's like there's just so many ways you could celebrate it as you move through this.
And because it was the grandparents, I think there's something, and this is my humble opinion, my thought process. It's like the grandparents is that link to your ancestors, right? It's that direct link. And so because it was the grandparents' house, and I think Emma said that her grandfather just passed recently. Yeah. It's like that double heaviness of letting go. So this is definitely a heavy time. And it can also be a beautiful time. Yeah. Right? It can also be like what you're saying, Robin, a celebratory time. Yeah. Right?
Yeah, like walking into a new chapter.
Yeah.
And then there's also like the fear with that as well. Yeah. Have you seen like on the subway at all, like there's this poem, and I remember like when I lived in New York, there was this specific poem that would always catch my eye. And I have it right here. I could just read it.
Oh, please do.
It's really quick.
Please do, Cole.
I love when you're breaking out subway poems. Yeah.
I just loved it. But it's called Passage by Victoria Chang. And it said, every leaf that falls never stops falling. I once thought that leaves were leaves. Now I think they are feeling in search of a place. Someone's hair, a park bench, a finger. Isn't that like us going from place to place looking to feel alive? And that poem, like, it's crazy how the mind works, because like that poem is what popped in my head in this, because we get so attached to these places once we find comfort and familiarity and family and love. And then the wind has to take us somewhere else. And that's so uncomfortable, yet it's so exciting because you get to ride a new wave. So yeah, Emma, I definitely say, it feels like a lot at the moment, but the wind is carrying you somewhere else, and you'll make that place feel like home too.
Oh, I love that. Wow. Absolutely. All right. Well, thank you for your question, Emma, and good luck. Have that party. Do a painting. I don't know, something.
Oh, have a house party.
A house party. Yeah. You know what you could do, by the way? They have those like where you take a picture and you send it off and then they'll create a paint by numbers. And you could have the party, put the paint by numbers up, and every person paints it during the party. Come on. I'm filled with ideas, Emma.
You are.
Yeah, that's a good idea, Robin.
All right. Well, let us know how that all shakes out, Emma. We're sending you love. Okay. Here is our next question from Trudy.
Hi, dear Headspace. This is Trudy from Melbourne, Australia. My question today is around behaviours changing but negative thinking remaining the same. So in terms of context, I've had anorexia since I was 16. I'm now 48. I have tried numerous different therapies and I've been in and out of hospitals as well. And whilst at the moment I am in a period of recovery where I'm not actively engaging in anorexic behaviours, my core beliefs about myself still remain. So, for example, I am unlovable, or I am undeserving, or I should look a certain way. So behaviours change, but the underlying negative thinking still remains. I was wondering if you could recommend a course or give me any advice on this particular issue, as I feel like I'm only ever half recovered. I truly appreciate your help and wisdom. Thank you.
Well, thank you for your question, Trudy. And we're just to start, we're sending you love and compassion for this is a very difficult journey. And as a person who, both of my parents were alcoholics and I struggle with food myself, not quite in the same way, but enough so that I have found myself in 12-step rooms. I do really think that considering a 12-step program might be a really great place to start if you're not already doing that as part of your care, just because I do think that the programs are so important in dealing with the spiritual side of the disease. Saying that, I do need to say really clearly up front that I'm not, and none of us are providing advice about how to treat anorexia or any other specific questions. So I just, there's plenty of people out there that can help with that. But that's just my 2 cents from my personal experience. And I'm curious what you two think.
Yeah, what I'm hearing Trudy say is that she's been dealing with anorexia for 30 plus years, and at the present moment, she's not practicing any of the harmful behavior, and so it sounds like what she was saying, that she has sought out the treatment and she has been very proactive with the anorexia. So I want to just take a very intentional moment to congratulate yourself, congratulate you and congratulate yourself on that, Trudy, because we're in this the space of wanting things to happen. When we want things to happen, it can be oftentimes very difficult to just pause and congratulate ourselves for the steps that we have taken so far. So for right now in this moment, Trudy, I would say to just give yourself that pat on your back. Keep it going. Definitely keep it going. And as far as the negative thoughts that you're experiencing, so I like to call those what we call like the top 10 tunes. These are the tunes or the thoughts that we tend to repeat to ourselves. And oftentimes they are negative and self-deprecating, like Trudy was saying, I'm not good enough. I look this way. I'm not smart. Whatever those top 10 tunes are for yourself. And so allowing yourself to recognize what these top 10 tunes are for you and really bringing them into your awareness and being with them. And you'll be surprised, Trudy, how oftentimes just by highlighting them and learning how to sit with them, but this is what mindfulness teaches us. A lot of times the magnitude and the power of those negative thoughts decreases just by learning how to be with them versus trying to force them away. I don't want them to be here anymore. So recognize when you're putting that pressure on yourself to get rid of these, like I said, top 10 tunes, versus just allowing yourself to be with them and being very mindful and and recognizing when they present themselves.
I think the first thing that came to mind is you are not alone, right? Trudy, because I think oftentimes these thoughts and feelings can feel so isolating, right? Like it feels like this is very localized to you, and that other people are, especially in the age of social media, right? Like there's this subconscious belief that other people don't have these struggles, and that
look
they
how
don't
perfect
have
their lives look on Instagram.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But you're definitely not alone, because especially in reference to the thoughts and feelings about yourself, as the older I get and the more I experience, the more I see that the journey to self-love is ongoing. The journey to self-compassion is ongoing. We all have these things from day to day that we have to contend with, and we have to do our best to uplift ourselves and to believe in ourselves. But I think it's very human to, have to contend with this. So you're definitely not alone. And
Yeah.
I think as long as you continue to be intentional, which, you said you've been dealing with this since, you were 16, so you have been pretty intentional with it, for the past couple of decades. And I definitely think continuing that, I think you can only go up from here. But you're not alone. And, I think things will get better.
Well, and I want to ask a clarifying question. Kes, to your point about like sitting and being with your top 10 hits, right? The things we all say that are mean to ourselves. I feel like, correct me if I'm wrong, that can live in conjunction with therapy, with a 12-step program. So it's
absolutely.
like, it's just like
Absolutely.
whatever my default setting is, like I'm never going to be good enough, right? Like that might be hardwired somewhere, but I don't always have to listen to it. I can quiet the voice, I can bring it down, and I can get help with processing that voice so that maybe it doesn't show up as much, right?
Oh no, absolutely. It's not an or. It is definitely an and.
Yes, and.
Even when I was doing psychotherapy, obviously my therapeutic approach was based on mindfulness, and so it wasn't you do this mindfulness practice or you do. It was always and. So this is it's and the beautiful thing, in my humble opinion, is that mindfulness, meditation, therapy, counseling, it's a beautiful, beautiful marriage. It's a beautiful blending, and very powerful marriage and blending. So yeah. In regards to the intrusive thoughts, when I say coming from a mindfulness perspective, oftentimes we just want to stop those thoughts. We just want to stop those intrusive thoughts. But you try to stop your thoughts from coming,
no.
You're going to go down a rabbit hole. You're going to go down a rabbit hole, and it can create what I often talk about, like that spiral of anxiety or a spiral of stress or frustration, whatever it is that you're experiencing. So, learning how to be with it and seeking out a counselor, seeking out the proper therapeutic professional that'll be able to help you.
Yeah. I can say to like what you said, Corey, that like being in a room like of other folks who struggle with food or with an eating disorder does make you feel less alone, because it is the type of thing that not everyone struggles with. And you can feel very like, why am I the only one who everyone else is just going along and able to do things normally? Why me? So I think, I do think that can be very, very helpful. All the things.
Yeah. And I think something that I even have in my own practice is this thought of, or I guess like this reminder that my thoughts are not a reflection of me as a person. They are a reflection of what I've been through, or at least some of the things, that I've been through. So, we are not our thoughts, you know, especially these harsh thoughts, about ourselves. So it's just something to keep in mind.
Yeah. Let them come, let them go.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, thoughts are not facts. That's what we say. Thoughts are not facts. I just want to reiterate also, because I heard Trudy say she's only half healed or she's only half of a person. So I just want to really reiterate, what a badass and what a rock star she is. For, right now, despite these thoughts and these feelings, you're not practicing harmful behavior.
Yeah.
You are
That's
whole.
no small thing.
Yeah, no matter what you're going through, Trudy, you are always a whole human being. And so really, really embracing that and really having compassion and love for yourself.
Yeah. And Trudy, I'd say this, I mean, I think we say this often, but I don't think it could ever be underestimated how much we mean it. We really are with you, and we are sending you love and compassion, as you walk through this, because it's just not an easy thing. And I do want to say to anyone who might be listening, who's thinking this, I kind of said it at the top, but at Headspace, we provide mindfulness and well-being content, but we don't provide clinical treatment. So our content, we just want to be really clear, it's not a substitute for professional medical advice or diagnosis or treatment. And it's not intended to replace care provided by a mental or a physical health professional. So just keep that in mind. And, like we always say, get the help that you need. We're just here to remind you of that. So thank you again for your question, Trudy, and we are with you.
Yeah, thank you, Trudy.
All right, here's our question from Ruth.
Hi Headspace, I'm Ruth and I'm Irish, but I live in Brisbane, Australia. My question is about how to actively listen and mindfully respond to someone when you completely disagree with their point. My friend often looks at world issues with a black and white lens, but I have to look at the nuance. And this has meant we've been coming to blows a lot recently about things happening in the world. What I want to know is, how do I engage in these conversations without reacting aggressively because I disagree so passionately with what the other person is saying? And I was wondering if you have any advice about the arguments I have with her in my head afterwards. Thank you.
The arguments in the head afterwards. I should have said.
Oh my God. For the people in the US who are heading into an election cycle, this question is real, and it's real.
So relevant.
It is real.
Oh my goodness, it's so relevant. This is me, right?
Yeah. Me. And then in the middle of the night, they're like, "Oh, I wish I had said this, and I can't believe you said that." Like 3 a.m, going over, like, next time I see them, I'm going to say this.
So Ruth, you mentioned mindful listening, right? And I think that's like half of the equation. It's really mindful communication, right? That's the whole picture. Because oftentimes we mindfully listen, and we have in our minds what we want to say, or we have in our minds what we disagree with, but we don't allow ourselves to vocalize it, right? And then when we do vocalize it, we don't do it in a constructive way, and then it kind of snowballs into an argument, right? So by no means does mindful listening or mindful communicating mean you have to agree with what the person is saying. I think that's the first thing. You don't have to agree. You're going to disagree, for sure. But when you're in a space of being mindful, being present, you're able to voice your disagreements in a way that's respectful, right, and constructive for dialogue. And I think in that way, a lot of these arguments that happen might not escalate into an argument. You can have a constructive and disagreeing conversation with someone without it spiraling into an argument. Mm-hmm. And it might be hella hard. No doubt. I'm not going to even try and sit here and act like be mindful and everything will be talked about in a calm and tranquil way.
Especially depending on what the topic is.
Corey, come on.
Especially depending on what the topic is.
Especially 2024 with all the stuff that's happening in the world.
Like globally. It's not just our country.
Yes,
that's the thing, is it's happening everywhere. And we've lost the ability in so many ways to hear people out. Like we're all just, it feels like many of us are just trying to make our point when the other person stops talking. And that, is a recipe for disaster. I'm guilty, like 100% guilty of that.
I think we all are. Come on.
I mean, I'm going to win them over. I'm going to win them over with this thought. I had on my other podcast they host called Well Adjusting, I had this expert, her name's Tanya Israel on, and she talked about, she has a book already out called Beyond Your Bubble, How to Connect Across the Political Divide. And she's got another book that's coming out in August called Facing the Fracture. Not a sponsor of this podcast, but like her work is so good. Like I think there are people out there that are having conversations about this kind of topic, but she talks about the fact that no one, like if you just drop that one study that you read recently, you think you're going to change that person's point of view. And it's not happening. It's not happening.
So I guess like two things came to mind for me. The first one you guys might laugh at, but I'm going to run with it anyway.
Do it.
Growing up and even into like early adulthood, I couldn't fathom when people would ask who's like the greatest living entertainer. For me, it was always Beyonce. And so I
love that you're leading with a Beyonce. I love it. You had me at Beyonce.
my brain couldn't get out of my own bubble, right? I was like, what do you mean you think it's so and so? No, it is clearly Beyonce. But no, so that leads me into like point number 2. I was just recently speaking with a friend who we are on opposite ends of a lot of socio-political conversations. But I think at the heart of it, I think the world is too vast. There's too much of a melting pot of cultures and belief systems and everything. We're never going to agree on every single thing. And I think that's just the reality of being human, right? Mm-hmm. And so I think if more of us were able to digest that and accept it, now obviously we can always, lead with love and compassion in the way that we treat each other and the way that we converse and have more room for civil discourse. But the reality is, you and your friend may never believe the same things. Yeah. No matter how hard, no matter how great your arguments are, no matter how valid your articles are, and vice versa. And I think that's just the reality. And sometimes I think the goal should be us learning how to live in harmony with our differences versus trying to get other people to see things the way that we do. Because with their specific walk of life and their experiences and their beliefs, they never will.
Well, you don't have to throw the baby out with the bathwater. You can agree to disagree. You can say you can have that topic be off limits, or you can, like my sister and I have found ourselves on opposite sides of political spectrum, and it's something we've been trying to work through. And so we both try to be open-minded when we talk, and we try to be like, oh, I see your side here. And we try to send articles that show the other person that we're listening and things like that, versus trying to set articles to always just make our point. Because then we're just at a face-off. And it has been helpful. It's still hard, though.
Yeah, I'm going to...
Uh-oh.
I'm going to keep it 100. There's going to be times, if you are thinking this way, I have to let you go. And that's okay. For my mental well-being, I know that having you in my life, having you in my space is not conducive for my wellness because you think this particular way. I think there's often a pressure, with mindfulness or with mindful communicating, that you have to find this mindful
common
space,
ground
common ground, or of course, if your relationship, like you mentioned with your sister, Robin, I'm not trying to tell you to drop your sister. Just keep.
Well, I think you're talking about extreme, more extreme views. It sounds like I'm not being friends with someone in the KKK. I'm just not. I'm not going to sit and peacefully hear your thoughts. That's not happening.
Oppression is definitely one of those topics.
Exactly.
For me,
yeah.
So there's there's the middle, and then there's extremes.
Exactly.
And they're handled differently.
Right. Exactly. But I find that oftentimes people, even in those extreme topics, they feel the need to, or they feel pressured. I've known this person for so many years. They think outlandishly about this, but I have to hold on to that relationship. No, if it, and it's causing more stress, right? It's causing you more stress. So yeah, recognizing when it's appropriate to let that person go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And know that that's perfectly okay also.
Yeah. I think we're like drilling down on Ruth, only you know you. And it might be beneficial to be asking yourself some questions about your relationship, like to Kessonga and to Corey's point. Some people aren't going to change, and I don't know that there's any win in that. So I think there's maybe time for some questions for yourself, Ruth, about what to do with this relationship.
Something that Ruth said also, and we touched on it briefly, but I just want to reiterate when she said, you disagree with them in your head. So just want to reiterate, being aware of when you're keeping things bottled up and when you're not expressing yourself fully and authentically. So
that's a nice distinction.
Yeah.
Oh, well, thank you, Ruth. We are sending you vibes, and really we're sending vibes to everybody out as we head into the latter parts of 2024. It's going to test us all, I have a feeling. Well, that was such a powerful question for us to end on. I mean, it's not just about global or political divisions. It's about how we can all find humanity in each other.
Absolutely, because we all have to live on this planet together and interact with each other.
We gotta share the space.
Some courses. I always like to recommend some courses or some meditations in the app that are relevant. And today, I was kind of thinking about the letting go course, and there's also expert guidance on the app that talks about letting go, the loving kindness meditation, and also compassionate communication course. You can find those on the app. That can be very helpful. Yeah.
Amazing suggestion. And I also want to share some very exciting news that Headspace now has mental health coaching, and it's in the app, and you can connect with a trained expert, someone like our very good friend, Coach Corey here, and you get live one-on-one care and support.
Absolutely. It's fantastic for everyday anxiety, stress, and even big life challenges.
Yeah, and that's true. And what I think is really wonderful about it is it's help on your time. So you can do it from anywhere, whatever you're going through. Your Coach Corey, maybe Coach Corey, maybe not Coach Corey, but someone like Coach Corey is going to be there for you every step of the way.
Yeah, it's pretty fabulous.
All right. Well, I do want to say thank you to today's callers, Emma, Trudy, and Ruth, for sharing your questions with us and sparking such a lovely and helpful conversation. And if you happen to be at home or wherever you are listening, and hey, maybe you've been meaning to send us a question, but you just kind of haven't gotten around to it yet, well, here's what I have to say. No time like the present. All you have to do is go to sayhi.chat/dearheadspace, follow the very simple prompts. That link to record is going to be in the show notes. And guess what, friends? If we use your question on Dear Headspace, you will get 3 months of Headspace for free.
I always love to hear that
right?
opportunity for people. Absolutely. Right. Please keep the questions coming.
Until next time, stay happy.
And stay healthy.
And be kind to each other.